Hello, everyone. Mike Hurd, your host of the Amateur Retriever podcast. Today, we're staying at home, and this topic is medical related for my Labrador Retriever, River. River had a little bit of a surgery, so don't be too concerned. It's nothing life threatening or anything like that. He did not have an accident, but he did get a little tumor on his back leg, and it's something I had the vet check, look at, decided surgery was the best result, and that's where we're at today. So I wanted to touch on this topic, what kind of tumor this was, and why I decided to do surgery. So he started having this little growth on his back left leg about a couple months ago. It was really small, and typical dogs. He's a little over 2 years old, and I've got Doppler, who's about a month and a half, or not a month and a half, a year and a half, and those two constantly are playing and chasing each other around the yard, and typical dog stuff. And I thought, well, maybe he just scraped it or something like that. But over time, it started getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And by the time I decided to take action, it was looking kind of ugly on his back leg, and I wasn't going away on his own. When he would lay down on my bed, for example, there would be a little pool of blood. And I mean, it's not huge, it's just a little pool of blood, but it was definitely noticeable there, and some fluid. And again, it just like, ooh, I mean, that really got your attention, and something we started really to look at closely and monitor. And it got to the point where I said, all right, I need to get him checked out. So we brought him into the vet 2 weeks ago. The vet looked at it. They said, well, it could either be one of two things. It could either be a cancerous tumor, which is what you don't want to hear, or it could be a non-cancerous tumor. And the only way to find out was to take a little biopsy of it and do some testing on it. So, all right, let's do that. So they took a little sliver of it and looked at it under a microscope, and they determined in-house that it was probably not cancer. It was benign. And they said it was probably something that could go away on its own. Could. Didn't say it would. Weren't sure. This could go away on its own. Or they could send this biopsy into a lab, and they could test it further, so we would have a full understanding of what it was. And I said, absolutely, let's go in that direction. So that's what we decided to do. And when we got the lab results back, this came in as something called a histiocytoma, and it was benign. Let me pull up an article that my vet sent me, and I'll share this link below. So here's a little picture of it in their article. This histiocytoma is a benign skin growth in dogs, which I thought, okay, good, benign, that's good, right? But this is a skin growth, and it looks horrible. This histiocytoma is a benign skin growth that usually goes away by itself within a couple of months. The typical histiocytoma patient is a young adult dog, usually less than 2 years of age, with a round eroded growth somewhere on the front half of the body. But of course, it goes on and says it could be anywhere on the body. So, I mean, typical. I had a dog that was around 2 years old, and I had the little skin growth, and it said it could go away on its own. And I thought, do I wait? So here we are, about 60 days away from the beginning of field trial and hunt test season. So I was like weighing the options of, do we just see if it goes away on its own? Because this thing was getting bigger. It wasn't getting smaller, and it definitely didn't look like it was going away on its own. But according to this article, it says it can go away on its own within about 3 months. But within 3 months, I mean, that's going to be right smack dab in the beginning, in the middle of my field trial and hunt test season. And if you come down here, finding out the source, let's see, treatment of histiocytomas. Histiocytomas heal by themselves within 3 months and may not need any treatment. May not, depending on the case. The healing process may be itchy or may lead to secondary bacterial or fungal infections, which is, they're labs, right? They're getting wet, they're running through cover, they're getting muddy, and that's something I did not want. I didn't want a secondary infection. There are some studies for drugs, but there's really no decisive drug to recommend to make this go away. But my vet said we could try a topical um, steroid to see if that helps the immune system, calm the immune system down to hopefully get this thing to go away. Um, but it said on average, histiocytomas undergoes regression by itself within 3 months. The process may be itchy and may lead to some minor infections, as we just talked about. Removal of the histiocytoma is the fastest route to resolution. But since they do go away on their own, leaving the growth alone is a reasonable solution. However, they said the surgical route is the fastest way to healing. And that's what I wanted. I wanted this thing gone, and I wanted it to heal as fast as possible. Um, this says anti-inflammatory medication may be tempting, but these can interfere with the regression process. So there's no medical or medication solution here that guaranteed that this would go away, or it could make it worse. And it's something I didn't want to drag on for the next 3, 4, 5 months. Because again, hunt test and field trial season is coming up here in about 2 months. So my wife and I decided that removal of this histiocytoma was the fastest route to healing. And that's what it says here, right here. Surgical removal of the histiocytoma is the fastest route to healing. But since they do go away on their own, leaving the growth alone is reasonable. But again, this is not a typical house dog. This is a competition dog. This is a dog that I'm training for hunt tests and field trials. So I wanted the fastest resolution possible, but was also slash the expensive solution as possible as well. So let me show some pictures of what this actually looked like. And I'll start with a wide picture. You can see it here on his back leg, and I'll circle it right there. Okay, so that's the histiocytoma. And again, it was right there. And every time he'd lay down, this thing would bleed a little bit, and it just didn't look good at all. And it's certainly something noticeable when you see him running. And again, that's a wide shot. So what was the size of this thing? It was probably, oh, I don't know, the size of a nickel, somewhere around that. But when they go through and remove this thing, they probably came up this way and then came around like that. Yeah, I'm not sure how much. I have not been able to take the bandage off. So, I mean, they had to do a suture like that, and then they kind of, stitch it back together, and now they've got it all wrapped up. So I had this thing removed. And what they did next after surgery is they are going to send this in again to get tested. And what they want is the margins, how much on the outer edge of this thing. I'm not sure how far they went around this to remove it, but they want to make sure that they got all of it. So, they have to test that. So the skin samples on the outer edge of this thing is what they're going to test to see if there's any sign of this histiocytoma on these outer edges. Hopefully there's not, because then that means they got it all. So there's still a little more testing to do. But again, that thing just looks ugly. Ugh, just looks ugly, and it's something I didn't want to prolong. It's just something I wanted to get it removed as quickly as possible, let it heal, and then let's move on with the rest of the season. So again, the process was that this thing was small, and it kept getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and he was leaving little pools of blood if he lay down. And because it was weeping and bleeding a little bit, I thought it was susceptible to infection, and I didn't want him to have an infection. So we decided to make the fastest route possible is surgical removal. All right, let's talk about cost. What did this thing cost me? all in between a couple of vet visits, testing, and surgery came out to be about $2,000. So the initial vet visits, we brought them in. They took a little sliver of that. They tested it in-house. That was a couple of $100, but they shipped that out to wherever they send them to. I'm not really sure where they send it to, but they had it tested further. That was another $300. So that initial vet visit cost me about $500, give or take. But I wanted to know for sure. I wanted the test to tell me the route that I should take with River, if I should just leave it alone, if we should try some topical, or do we need to do surgery on this? And they left that totally up to me. And again, they gave me lots of articles. My veterinarian clinic in Bozeman, 360 Pet Medical, very forthcoming. I love my veterinarians there. They are wonderful, and I have a great relationship with them. So I decided to do the surgery route. And a week and a half later, after that diagnosis, they were able to get him in. He had about a 20-minute surgery. I mean, this was in an easy place to get to. All that came out to be about $1,000. However, they wanted to send in that what they removed, that histiocytoma and the skin around it, and they want to send that and have it tested to make sure, again, that the margins around that thing don't show that, so they make sure they got it all so it doesn't come back. That was another $300. So that was about $1,300. You add another $500 in on the first visit, and then he's on an anti-inflammatory, and then I've got him on a calming medication to keep him from running and playing and that kind of thing, just to keep him chilling out until these sutures and the surgery heals in the next couple of weeks. But hopefully in about 2 to 3 weeks, he can get back up and running, and we can get back to doing what we love to do, and that's training for hunt tests and field trials. And we may miss the first couple of events this year in April and early May, but I really hope to hit it full bore with River as we get into late May and June, July, August, September. That's basically my field trial hunt test season here up in Montana and neighboring states as well. So again, that's an update on the Retriever Amateur Podcast. I just want to do a little medical thing with you and talk about a histiocytoma, what it is, what it isn't, and how I proceeded to move forward with my dog River. And once we get the bandage off, I'll take a few pictures and maybe have an update as we wrap this up in about a month or so. So again, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out the channel, and I hope this bit of information helps you make a decision. If your dog gets a histiocytoma and you're not sure what to do, then the best route to go forward. All right, everybody, thanks for checking out the channel. See you next time.